Good morning. Gimme Shelter. Look what's happening in the world now. Okay, this is the only thing that I really, first I was terrified of the virus. And then I sort of felt like people are being cautious. And then this. I always feared, what if this devolved into some kind of civil unrest? Good morning. God forbid. God forbid that this plague would now turn into civil unrest because nobody had food, God forbid. And now look what's happening in our cities. They're burning. Give me shelter. This is what we have to worry about in our civilized time. Whether people want to kill people for Nike shoes. As if anyone cared what anyone dressed like during these times. And now people are killing other people so that they can have another pair of shoes. Yes, I believe people should have opportunity. But to steal shoes, and just to take advantage of the one of the most difficult periods in our recent history, and people now have to be resort to that. I thought we were bonding together and trying to bring some healing to the world, and this is what it devolved into, because one guy who's very cruel and had a bad to take it out on some symbol of his anger. Therefore, we have to set this off. Just an opportunity to smash windows and cause vandalism. It's just a shot away. Total anarchy is just a shot away. Is that all we are? A bunch of behemoths? On both sides, I don't care. It's not important. You have cruel, vicious people that are a symbol of hate, and then you have people that are just in a gangster mentality that you just have an opportunity, you just take it. There's nobody watching. It's as if we don't have cities where there's a system of justice, because if there's not an inner system of justice, that people just have an inner integrity not to loot. One of the most disgusting things. I mean, if you have to do it to save your starving family, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guy who wants an extra pair of shoes and doesn't matter if he has to smash someone's glass to get it. He could have done that any time. Smash the glass, you might have gotten away with it. Now's an opportunity. Great, chaparine. So this is a very lowly, but it's such a massive percentage of the population, I think, that, good morning, Joel, good to see you. I think it's indicative of a decrepit moral culture. What are we supposed to be surprised when the people that are invited to the White House to say poetry are the ones who are praising very lowly ideals as well in general as part of a culture, because they emerge from that. If they're the exception to the rule, they still emerge from this culture of gangster, romanticizing a gangster. Anyone who could kill more people, that's the guy that let him be the president of the United States. So what does the Torah say about that? What if I'm right that what causes this is a vacuous society with no values whatsoever? If they lived for bowling, you would think that would be more worthy. Good morning, Jacob. Good to see you. So what is the Jewish perspective of that? What do we embrace that counters that? Yes, we have inner morality that's supposed to be indicative of our national character. We have a good core. We're good in the core. Sometimes that could backlash against us too, right? The good, if we're a bit twisted, God forbid, then we could devote ourselves to horrible ideologies that just help to destroy an aspect of society. We made that our society. Jews at the forefront of the communist ideological revolution. Of course. So the Torah says there is a refuge. Traditionally, the city was a symbol of bonding together to ward off an enemy. That's what a city was. You put a wall up if you needed extra defense. You have a big giant sitting in the castle there if you need an extra warrior to scare everybody away. You had city-states. The city is a symbol of refuge. What happens when you get a bad reputation in one city? You have to go to another city. What if you did something inadvertently? It didn't matter if you didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't your fault. It just looked bad. You had to run away. So the Torah says, put in the crossroads when you're running away from the Gael Hadam, the avenger, run to a city of refuge. What does this refuge represent? Where the Rebbe says that this is the halachic source of the Leviathan. The Torah has a very practical level that cannot be tarnished in any way, which is halacha. That's it. Midrashim, you could have a Levyasan, and thank you very much. But if you're told how to act on something, that is a sort of, it's called, the Rebbe describes, a nitzchias of the Torah, the permanence of the Torah, that God has a certain will. So what is he going to do? A Torah Chadash, he's going to make a new Torah? Why? His will is eternal. There's one commandment. Do what God says. So the most practical expression of this battle that's going to come in the future to come in Levyasan and Sharbar is the cities of refuge. And it's the same idea of what we said, this beautiful yin-yang of the Levyasan slaughtering the wild ox, Sharbar. And the spiritual against the physical and how they come about, and each elevates the other. It's a beautiful thing, and we see this in the Nigla of Torah, in the most practical aspect of the Torah, which is telling me how should I behave. In the future to come, part of the very mitzvah of having the 6 cities of refuge is to add another 3. So you couldn't do that until Mashiach comes. So this is a foundation of the idea of Mashiach according to halacha. And Rambam encodes it, that Hatera Ha'ida al Melech Mashiach, Shenemar V'shav Hashem Elokech es Shvuscha. The Torah testifies about the concept of Messiah. If you believe in the Torah, you have to believe in these words according to Rambam, that God will return with the captivity. So there's going to be a time where we're not going to be exiled forever. But he goes on and he says that we learn in a different verse in the Torah, in Bilam, it says, and it's prophesied about, Umarech beperish haksuvim, and he goes on to explain each prophecy what it's referring to. Meisif b'halacha shel acharei, then he adds in the halacha after that, af be'ara miklat. Also regarding the mitzvah of making cities of refuge. Hu aimer im yarchiv Hashem elokechas vulcha v'yasafta lecha eid shalish arim, that if God will happen to expand your borders and you shall add 3 cities. And these are to be cities of refuge. If there's an inadvertent killer, he goes to run, he seeks refuge, he gets shelter in these cities. And there's going to be 3 added to the 6 that Moses did. And Rambam goes on to say, and this thing never happened. And God does not command things in vain for tayu, in chaotic random anarchy. It's not God's way. So the opposite of anarchy is this general narrative of history that there's going to be a salvation to the world. And in that time when there's a salvation, the Jewish people are going to organize the world and give some dignity to the world again. That is inscribed in Torah law as this promise of adding 3 extra cities of refuge. What are you going to need them for? If you're going to have a time where there's going to be a messianic redemption, and there's not going to be evil in the world, why would you need a city of refuge? No one is going to be killing anybody, even inadvertently. So the Rebbe goes on to explain that. And if, that's where we're heading. Let's see what Arei Miklat mean. What does it mean, a city of refuge? Therefore, we have to say that this commandment, Rambam tells us, will be fulfilled in the times of Mashiach. There is going to be a time where we're going to add and extend our borders, and then we're going to have 3 nations to add to the 7, and you get a package 10. And what that 3 represents. Then you're going to have an addition and a completion, a perfection, the Rebbe adds, in the mitzvah of Arei Miklat. So this is a promise in the Torah that you're going to have victory and extend your borders and add 3 cities of refuge from those new lands. Haraya me'ara miklat mudgeshes shabias Mashiach hu inyan hamuchra gam mitzad hamitzvahs. So therefore, you have proof that according to the mitzvahs of the Torah, the most eternal aspect of the Torah, hanitzchias, the mitzvahs, the Rebbe calls it, as the Rambam writes at the end of the concept, V'ikar advarim kachahein, shetera zeis chukem mishpater l'oilman olamim, ve'in meisifim aleim l'garam mehen. The Torah is eternal, and you never add or detract from them. So this is part of a mitzvah that reaches its completion only in the stage of the redemption. So redemption is inscribed within the narrative of life, and as that's defined by the Torah. V'yesh leimish v'hadgashes inyan gula mefaret v'gader v'gader mitzvah shebetera she'ein lehi safa hu safa b'mitzvahs meis Mashiach koloshana hakasav yisaflecha eid shalish arim. Okay, so there's going to be this addition represented by the having new cities of refuge, which seems so paradoxical in the times of Mashiach. Specifically then, you're going to have a need for more guarding, some more refuge. What a refuge from what? Didn't we just kill the Yetzer Hara? There's nothing to fear anymore. As we'll see, the Rebbe describes the whole concept of succumbing to the Yetzer Hara is likened to inadvertent murder. So we're going to see a direct connection. The whole narrative of life is described by this idea of seeking refuge. Gimme shelter. And ultimately you get it. But praises Teshav Yerushalayim. We're going to sit with unwalled cities in Jerusalem. Why is it plural? Praises. I think it means everything around Jerusalem too, no? Isn't that part of the glory of the capital city? All the other cities, then, if you're the capital city of Mars, Mazel Tov. Praises Teshav. Sounds plural, doesn't it? Okay. So the Rebbe says, what does this city of refuge represent? That's so descriptive of the future redemption. Good morning. Why that specific mitzvah? And that is the same thing, the Rebbe says, as a Leviasim. And the idea of Beis Shammai is going to rule. We're going to understand everything like Beis Shammai. Why would you need more refuge? Why would you need more severity, more stringencies when Mashiach comes? It should be the opposite. So the 6 cities of refuge, since the refuge means to seek refuge in Torah, so you have to have some principles to guide your city, or your inner core of the city is going to be this looting mob. So your cities to seek refuge have to be guided by something. That's called Torah. So Torah is kleta. So the Ir Miklat is Torah. You seek refuge when you're in a city, it's not going to defend you from anything if at the core you have this civil unrest. So you introduce an ideology that's healthy for the city. That's called the refuge of Torah. So it's an Ir and it's a Miklat. Why is a Torah a city? Why are you going to a city of refuge and we're telling you it means Torah? Torah is kleta. You seek refuge there. You're gathered there. So the way a city refers to an ideology, because it says in Sefer Yetzirah that one brick makes a little house, right? 2 bricks, something like that. And each brick is the words of Torah. So when you and your tefillah. So Torah and tefillah, when you speak words of Torah and tefillah, you have your communications, your interactions with the world will be one of something that has value, which is Torah, and tefillah is some kind of gratitude to God, your creator. So when your mouth is used for that, when you relate to other people, which is communication, which is speech, like that, then Torah, it is a city that gives you refuge. Well, how is it a city? Because the words of Torah are the bricks that build a city, or stones rather, that build a city, specifically stones. And look what we're speaking about in Tanya these days, about how the word Evan itself, the word stone, is made up of those letters, and it's all about the letters. And look at today's Hayomim, that speaks about Taras Ha'avir with letters of Torah and Tefillah. You purify your atmosphere of your world. You make the atmosphere breathe. This is all about breathing, right? How do you have air that's not tarnished by plague? Okay, that is through saying words of Torah when you're on the street, specifically. That's what you care about. It's just part of who you are. When you're having a regular conversation, it has teichen, it has some meaning, it has some purpose, and it's not about who can have the nicest shoes. Who cares about shoes in this time? Look at the way I'm dressing, and I don't even care anymore. To me, this is the end of the universe. So I don't care to dress like I'm expecting someone to sign a big contract any second. I have to honor my father, of course, and he's not gonna say, yeah, I could come into the office one day like this. But I'm gonna work on it. We have to respect our parents, even if you don't understand them. I'll just borrow some of his wardrobe and I'll be really cool. That's fine. So Torah is a city, one that provides refuge and not rotten at the core and a mob ready to explode any second. Anytime you could get your mask off and you could run out of your house for the first time, you just want to take shoes. So now you can sit at home and show off your great shoes to your brother who you don't want to hang around. What does that mean? It's disgusting. The world's suffering so much and now I'm going to have to worry about shoes. Or Huggies. How poor is someone that he needs to steal Huggies? I'll line up at my door and I should provide Huggies to anyone who wants to walk into my neighborhood. I'll happy to provide them with Huggies. Okay, that could be someone's mitzvah, his whole great thing to provide these angry people with the Huggies. Or Nike. Okay, we should provide free coupons for Nike. If that's what it takes to keep people happy, what do you think the Roman emperors did? They make gladiator fights to entertain them, and they give them gold. You just print money. Oh, I just learned the Gemara that says that the miracle of civilization is that they ascribe more value to the gold in weight. They ascribe to the number that the King Tut puts on it. You tell me it's 100, I don't care if it's 95 if you put it on a scale. I'll give you 100 and you can have M2. Isn't that what it's called? M2? Money 2. Money 2.0. There's no money there. Now there's more money. Thank you. Why? Because I believe that there's some guy going to protect me. If there's a guy who wants to steal my sneakers. There's someone that's protecting me from that. And that's not just trying to take out his anger on the universe, and therefore nobody trusts the police. This is where people are getting that job from. That I'd prefer them to want to be like Batman, a good guy, than just a means to express anger. That's what I want my job to. I mean, the police officers that I've met are really good people. But I live in a really good city, thank God. So a city of refuge means where a city has some value at the core. It happens to be that if Torah is the value that's embraced in that culture, you're not going to have this. There's no Jewish mob trying to steal sneakers. That shows you the integrity of our nation. If that's what the Holocaust would be, this trying to save yourself from the Holocaust, from getting a better sneaker than the next guy, that's going to be your revenge. Can you imagine? These people felt that the world owed them nothing because they were just hated by everybody. They felt that anyone who's going to be humanly decent to them, that must be an angel. Because look at the core of society when it just left to do whatever it wants. There's no system of values. That's what's guiding man. It's just heart of darkness going out to the jungle. Okay, it's enough anger about that because it's just too obvious. So the Rebbe says that everything in life, all your temptation in your whole world, is expressed by the idea of an inadvertent killer. That's the Ir Miklat, the city of refuge, is designed to defend against this circumstance. So this circumstance represents your entire battle with the kaif within you, the monkey within. And I don't mean that chas v'shalom racially, God forbid. I think it's absolutely pathetic that anyone could judge someone on the basis of color. It is so superficial, I can't even believe it. In our times, that's what we care about. When we see what it could be if you have racism, and we don't care at all, so we have racism in our heart today, and you have a whole, you could go to, in a certain geographical locations, everybody gathers with that ideology. Is there any difference? It's so pathetic and barbaric. I can't believe it. Racism and the hatred that could lead to the misuse of authority as just as the exact same thing in a different shade. Okay, so the Rebbe says, and you see this biblically, a historical fact, that the first someone who said, "Gimme shelter," who was that? The first man, Adam Harishon. Okay, so I just want to read this because it's just perfect. Mitzvahs ira mikla kshura im tikkun chet etadas. The mitzvah of the city of refuge is connected with the correction for the sin of the original sin of eating from this tree. The source of all sins. Look it up in Contrasim of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Isn't that, wow. That's a chiddush of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. It is an innovative thought. Oh, so we were saying, I just want to point out, that the idea of an addition in Torah is also expressed in halacha, specifically here in the Yer Miklat. So you have a Torah Chadasha. How could you say there's going to be a new Torah? Chas v'shalom to say there's a New Testament. So in what sense is it a new Torah? Torah Chadashim Ite, from God himself, is going to issue forth a new Torah. So Mashiach is going to speak words of Torah that are going to be sourced perfectly in Torah's Moshe, the Moses Torah that he gave us on Mount Sinai. It's going to be, everything has been given. Yes, Moshe gave me the principles that eventually I could come up with something that will make everybody's Torah look like Hevel. Breathe. I just need to breathe. What's the slogan that they have now? I can't breathe. Taras ha'avir. It's all about breathing. Makes you want to breathe deep, right? So why was Adam Harishon banished from Gan Eden lachrei chet? Lemash niskaresh. Adam Harishon began Eden lachrei chet etadas. Al shehevi misa al deris. He brought death upon the world inadvertently. Why? Even if you're going to say he did sin on purpose, which he didn't. He ended up sinning, which is an inadvertent murder, we're going to see. Because he brought death upon the world. So what's the karmic revenge from that? The karma police, what are they going to say? Since he inadvertently killed everybody that comes from him, because now there's going to be mortality in life. Life was not meant to be mortal. The first man is there to prove it. And he had to be punished with mortality, and his descendants as well. So he inadvertently killed everybody to come. So murder is at the basis. Inadvertent murder is the basis of all of the narrative of life. That's the very origin of the whole story. That's how do you say that in literary terms? The plot, I don't know what. Instigator. So why was Adam Harishon banished when he needed to seek Gimme Shelter? He had to have a city of refuge. There's this perfect karmic thing that if a person kills inadvertently on purpose and he gets away with it, there's no witnesses, he is one day going to be like going up a ladder or something, and someone's going to drop on his head. And that guy was perfectly someone who had killed inadvertently, and therefore had to be caught this time and have to be banished. So each one justifies the other, the punishment of the other. Because karmically, you had two guys meeting in an inn, and all of a sudden, this guy had no witnesses, and he gets killed by someone who killed inadvertently, and there was no witnesses. So now you have the perfect environment that each person gets his justice. I should probably read the Rashi that has that, because that sounds like a conundrum. within a puzzle. So probably, did you follow that? I hope I said it right. I have the Rashi here. I could read that in a minute. It's interesting because, let's read it. Okay, I have the verses here in Deuteronomy 19:3 that speaks about if you get stuck, then you run away from the manslayer. That's a good way of saying it, a manslayer. Okay, so on the verse, about the guy running away to the city of refuge, if he did not do it by design, but it came about by an act of God, I will assign you a place in which he can flee. I'm going to make a makom asher yanis shama. You could run to this makom, this place. Rashi says, it's a very long Rashi, so I'm just going to get to the point. And God got it ready for his hand, and for what is the scripture you're speaking about two men, one of whom killed a person with premeditation, and the other killed inadvertently. Okay, this is this guy's interpretation of what I just tried to say. And in neither case, it's a translator of Rashi, and he's doing a very good job. And in neither case were there witnesses to the deed who could testify about it. There was no witnesses. No, everybody thought there was no city, there was no society, there was no big brother watching you, and there's no ayin re'eh ezen shamas. The Rebbe always liked to remind people that there's a watching eye and a hearing ear, that you cannot act like a total bandit. There's accountability, in other words. So here the Torah has a mitzvah that tells you this, that you see karmic perfection in the city of refuge. Why? Because if a person kills inadvertently, there's significance to that. You have a cycle. Yes, it initiated by God himself. He put the first chess move. He got white, so he makes the first chess move. What did he do? He made a narrative of drama. He introduced a force that was more cunning than man in order so that there could be this venom that you have to purify yourself from and live happily ever after from in a city of refuge when Mashiach comes. That's the whole narrative came about from that. So that is based upon the whole system happened because Adam Arishon, the first man, got himself banished. He did this sin of eating from the original sin. Then he got himself banished, and he inscribed mortality to humanity forevermore. God didn't do this to punish Adam Arishon. Oh, I didn't finish the Rashi. We'll get to that in a second, because this fits perfectly. So in this historical biblical narrative that begins with banishment, God didn't do this to punish him. It was a salvation for him. It was an act of compassion by giving a city of refuge for somebody. He's going from one city to another. Maybe he has to escape a crazy city, come to Toronto, buy real estate in Toronto. Not that I have anything to sell you. So the Rebbe goes on to explain that every sin now is corrected by this idea of an inadvertent sin. So let me just continue to describe this idea of there is accountability. And we see this in Torah, as seen in the Rashi's interpretation of the verse about that you should have a place for inadvertent killers. So Rashi uses a description about how this is embodied by the city of refuge. Okay? And how the idea of karma police exists within Torah. To use, just common words, So if someone killed inadvertently, in neither case were there witnesses to the deed who could testify about it, consequently, the former was put to death, and the latter was not forced into banishment to a city of refuge. So they didn't have any witnesses, then no one gets justice. Now God brings them together at the same inn. They meet in a saloon. Not a salon, that would be like the metrosexual version of that. So Rashi says these guys come together in an inn. He who killed with premeditation, what is that called? It's not manslaughter. It's first degree, I don't know. Premeditation happens to sit beneath the ladder. There happens to be a ladder there. Don't walk under a ladder probably came from this. One guy's ascending. When descending it, one second. The other one who killed inadvertently ascends the ladder and falls. When descending it, upon the man who killed with premeditation and kills him. So each one does the same thing again, now with witnesses. You cannot get away from this. These guys are going to pay for their Nike shoes. There's going to be accountability. Trump will for sure guarantee that. Unless it's going to cause another riot, he will for sure do that. Right? You can have every camera saying, you stole this, you're going to jail, and then you're going to have another disaster. But guess what? When you do things in private for long enough, it comes outward. And this is the idea here of now these two people meeting in an inn. Witnesses now being present, they testify against him, so compelling him to be banished to one of the cities of refuge. They're going to try and lynch the guy, so he has to run away because he's going to lose. But so therefore, why would he be given an opportunity? There's this tremendous dramatic event whereby now he has witnesses and he runs away. Here I think according to halacha, the way we paskin, I don't think it's exactly like this. I think, or maybe, I don't know how we paskin. I mean, we don't have cities of refuge now until Mashiach comes. But it sounds like I think Rambam has a different understanding of this. That you can't do, it's not about being brought to the Beis Din. That's the way Rashi says it. About testifying, so therefore he runs away from the testimony. It's about being lynched, in the simple sense. And if they're just going to testify, I guess he should stand. I think this is the way Rambam explains it, but I can't prove it this second. So, compelling him to be banished to one of the cities of refuge. The result, which happens to be associated with Levi, okay? Levi, the teaching class. The result is that he who killed inadvertently is actually banished, and he who killed with premeditation actually suffers death. So there's karma police inscribed in the Torah in the form of this idea that you need to provide refuge, gimme shelter from inadvertent circumstance. That's just an expression of Neira Lila B'nei Adam. God just made the world a place where sometimes you look guilty of things. You have a saita that needs to be checked, and you have there's an idea of a Torah kleita, that you have a place, you have a city that provides refuge while there is this vindicative force in the not vindicative, I forget the word. What's it called when you try and vigilanteism. A guy who wants to take justice in his own hands and lynch anybody that he thinks that he wants to get even with. So there is this idea of accountability that provides it's the opportunity for you to seek refuge at the crossroads. You don't know anywhere you go, it's danger because you have these people who want to throw you in jail for something you didn't mean to do. So there's an idea of giving it another chance, in a sense, through a city of refuge. Is this going to be this redemption of all humanity, also expressed historically with the idea of going to be a refuge, adding 3 cities to express a new aspect of the Torah going to be given, because the Torah is what is kleita, the Torah is what provides refuge. So you're going to have, in the future time, where there's going to have a whole new world. Where's that new world going to come from? It's going to come from a new Torah, as the Rebbe says in the following Sikha, from the one I'm doing here, which is Sefer Sichos Tafshin Aleph Krach Beis, page 575 is the middle of it, the part that speaks about the city of refuge, as well as a bit before that. So, Mashiach is going to introduce a new type of refuge to the world. God knows we need it, don't we? That is going to be an expression of a new intelligence that's going to be brought to the world, whereby we're going to attain the level of Beis Shammai. We're going to see how Beis Shammai was really right, and in what sense and why. But why was he right? But he mechaded him today. Since they were smarter, nobody could understand how smart they were. So you needed a baskal to tell you, you know what? I know that they're smarter. Nevertheless, stick with the majority and trust that the majority of good people are going to come up with a good perspective. And it turns out we needed that because it's explained here that, yes, now we paskin like Beis Hillel, we're more accommodating, we say more things can be permitted. And in the future, we're going to rule like Beis Shammai for some reason, it's very complicated and cool. But the reason is because in nowadays, if you're not going to interact with things, you're going to lose out on an opportunity to, and other people are just going to grab those Nikes. So you have to have a system of justice to protect property. So there's going to be this shift of thought that goes away from being accommodating to say people, if you don't grab it, someone else is going to grab it, because we're going to reach a higher level and more sophistication of inner integrity that we're going to have, it's going to be expressed by a type of slaughtering of your animal. The sherabar is shechted. Everything is going to be in a state of elevated. I know you're seeing the opposite now. Okay, so do we need I don't even want to say it. So Mashiach is, in effect, an expression of this higher sensitivity, this higher intelligence to seek a deeper integrity, expressed, yes, in terms of greater stringency in a respect. Why? Because when a person sees the true purpose of everything, it will mean nothing to him that he has more stringencies. In fact, those boundaries themselves will be veils of delight in a sense, because it's going to be expressed by coming close to God in a way that's hasagas hashlila. By saying, don't do this, it's an expression of do that. You are mine, those are not. I am the Lord your God and not the other guys. Don't have other gods. The expression of don't have other gods is actually more powerful. It's an expression of a singular focus and devotion and appreciation, a veneration and a coronation, indeed. Okay? So you have the Shish Sidra Mishnah, the 6 Sidre, orders of the Mishnah. 6 orders, that is represented by the 6 Ari Miklat, perfect alignment and precision. And we're going to add 3. Why? Because we're going to have the depth of the Torah, the Chochmah, Bina, and Das coming out into the Torah when Mashiach comes. So he's going to add 3. And what's the purpose of that? We have the niggle of the Torah, the legalistic aspect of the Torah, represented by the 6 cities that we have now. That provides refuge. You have to have a system of justice. That's the main thing. But what's going to be, as now Mashiach unfolds, now we've refined the world, and everybody who killed to get Nikes is already, everybody saw it. You can't justify the 2 things. Yes, picket the justice system, go to the Supreme Court, and put a sign up. Of course. And people listen to that. You don't think the media will drive that story? And now they're praising how the leaders made this a peaceful expression, and totally everyone's behind these leaders that they elect for themselves, that it's not just anarchy in the streets. That would be a good thing. This would be an opportunity for the world to actually grow from something so horrific as that brutal public brutality. For no reason at all. Disgusting. But do we have to also be disgusting to use this as an opportunity to do that? So there's going to be a time where you're not going to actually need that. But I can't believe that what we're seeing totally contradicts it. You're going to be above the idea of refining things. Say, that evil will be separate from good. Maybe it's the clarity. This idea of separating, you're clarifying. Let everything be accountable. Everything's public now. There's nothing hidden. There's drones on every alley in every small town in every part of every continent, and Antarctica included. There's accountability now in a way that's technologically enforced that never was in history. So usually accountability would be in the city. You want some justice, go to the city and look at the halachas about someone who seems screaming in the woman who's in the country. Nobody heard her for sure, but in the city someone would have heard her, and she would have. The fact that she didn't scream is somewhat suspicious. That's the whole idea of a city. So we've managed to bring even the suburbs into accountability, the rural, the farmlands, the wilderness. There is some accountability now. You always go back into civilization. It's a new innovation of our times. The idea of a city is like almost everywhere. There's no wilderness to act like a barbarian in, and people are going to see that. There's a clarity. I think that's what it could mean here. If you want to just say, yeah, everything is, the utopia is unfolding right now. How are we going to see utopia in total chaos? Because it's obvious that people who do that kind of thing are not good people. Unless they're starving. What can I say? So there'll have to be the good guys and bad guys of the universe, and someone's going to describe who deserves to eat and who doesn't. That's a very difficult situation. But when everybody's just doing it for fancier Nikes in a time that nobody cares about your Nikes, there's no one that's going to be impressed. I promise you. When everyone's wearing masks, they look like complete dorks on the street. They're willing to wear a mask and they have to have good shoes. How sick is that? We have a total anonymous culture where you just make, what's it called when you have those? An avatar. We're all just avatars with a mask. We could do anything, nobody sees it. You just wear a mask and have nice shoes, you're good to go. Just have an avatar or a hologram represent you somewhere and do all the bad things you ever wanted to do. Mazel tov. That is such a tremendous progress in technology, that we could just have environments to be as decrepit as we want to be. So what's going to be, when everything is refined, what are we going to have our total involvement with? Rambam says, that's not Rambam, pardon me. It's Igeris HaKadosh of the Alter Rebbe. Okay, I thought he was quoting halacha in Rambam's Hilchos Malachim, because he also has the same phrase, Eisek Kol Ha'olam. It's just going to be to learn Torah. But here we see the Alter Rebbe saying, the first Lubavitch Rebbe, he says, Lo Ya'esek Torah mitzvahs levara berurim. You're not going to be learning Torah to refine, to tell you how to keep Shabbos by eating the right kind of gefilte fish or tuna fish that didn't come from dolphins. I don't even know what that means. So someone explained it to me one day. So we're not going to learn to know what to do and just have this culture of just knowing how to act. There's something deeper that's going to be happening in Torah then. It's the expression of spiritual intimacy with God described as Ki'im L'yachid Yechudim El Yainim Yeser. There's going to be a much more sophisticated experience called spiritual unifications. Okay? What does that mean? When you take your religion seriously, when you feel it, when it's something that's not just like, do I have to be here? Oh yeah, I'll be here for 15 minutes and then I'm going to leave. That's not what Judaism is about. Okay? It's when you feel what you're doing is something that you're proud to be doing. Okay? That is the ultimate expression of your relationship with mitzvahs. You have to do certain things. I'm happy to do it that way. You're awesome, God. Thank you. If you could do that and not put on that fake face and say, I love it here. Be you and be a good you. Okay? So what's going to be when you're already a good you because you already find yourself to be done Avedis Abirurim? You went to your shrink enough times and now you're a good guy finally. What are you going to be involved with? The Alter Rebbe promises you it's going to be about having these spiritual unifications with God called Yechudim. What does that mean? The best time you ever had, the best roller coaster, you're going to get that from saying Mishnayos Baal Peh. Look at today's Hayamna. V'akol al yedei pnimis haTorah. And how is this going to come about? That you're going to achieve the ultimate purpose of your existence. The whole world is refined and nobody's stealing Nikes. What are you going to do? Everyone's going to be sitting in their thing with a little lamp on, with a magnifying glass, reading old Rashis and finding deepest secrets of the Torah in them. So fascinating. I don't care what they have to take to do. Give everybody free money to do that. And we'll have a better society. Well, there'll be more wealth too for everybody, including the rich guys. If you paid everybody to learn Torah, the entire world would not care about Nikes, because who even cares about Nikes now? It's so stupid, I can't believe it. Do you think anybody would care if I was wearing my pajamas right now? That's what people are doing on Zoom. Nobody cares anymore. We're in a different time. We've stripped ourselves down to the... Oh, it reminds me of the Sikha I'm learning. Because right now I'm still going back in the previous Sikha. But the next one has this awesome idea. Your master will not conceal himself anymore. Here it is. Totally revealed to the extent that in certain times, without any garment at all. And he gives a source. And he goes, in the footnote he says, even the type of garment that you need to wear to cover yourself, because when you're saying a blessing, if you're going to want to bring God in the most revealed way into your thing, it's most expressed by saying a blessing, right? So you have to, when you're saying a blessing, a man has to, presumably a woman also, maybe even more so, has to make a separation between their heart and their lower part of their body. Oh, I don't think a woman has to. They're not as barbaric as man that has to do that, I think. That's what, yeah, okay. So you do have to make a separation. So sometimes when you're saying a blessing, when you're expressive of the whole idea of a city, when you're in a place amongst other people and you're not going to do a skinny dipping there, when there's this dignity expressed by, if I'm going to say a blessing, my heart has to be recognized, to be separate from the private parts, as children we were taught to call them, which is amusing. But here it's describing how the time of the revelation that's going to be in the Messianic times is descriptive of God's going to have a dir b'tachteinim, which means he's going to dwell with you in the tachtein. Ask an Israeli what those are. But in his whole essence, so what's in the God? What do you get close to when you get close to this wonderful relationship you have with God, and you only get God through like his most superficial garments, and now you're seeing that there's a person in there, so to speak. There's an essence within that, so it doesn't have to be stripped down in that sense. But the Rebbe seems to describe it that way. Look, that bizmanim yuchadim, and to the extent that in certain times, bli shum lavish, without any garment at all. That's what it means. God revealed He's going to be completely stripped down. And we see this embodied in the future redemption. And your teacher will no longer close himself. I thought about it, that it says knaf is the wings, the edges of a garment, right? Al kanfei bigdehem l'dereisam. You put the tzitzis on the knaf, on the knafayim. What are the knafayim? Isn't that also the wings? And the angels have these upper wings, which they flap with, which means the love and fear of God, which gets them close to God. They flap up, flap down, right? Wax on, wax off. They have this rhythm. And they have also wings to cover themselves with. There's this dignity and privacy and modesty expressed by the very same wings. So the idea of a spiritual relationship with God is a modesty. If you're talking about angels who cover themselves and their whole pleasure and passion is in this spiritual, intellectual experience of God, that's only described by the most physical expression of earth, and the Rebbe has to spell that out by saying without any garments. And in certain times, I know that usually you're wearing garments. The angels cover themselves with themselves, right? Their wings cover themselves. They don't have to add clothing. But the Gmasai lost love. I don't even think they have any. They only have one leg because they don't reproduce. So they're only zivug nishikin. They're only the upper part, right? You don't need a belt on an angel because they're all upper. So there's nothing to separate the upper from lower. Jews are, even Moshe, the greatest of all of us, was Ish Elokim. Why was he an ish because he had to relate to people. It's the sharabar that keeps that elevates with his horn. He elevates the Leviathan. Ta'uf, my friend would say, and he'd make the symbol. Ta'uf, fly like a bird. Take off to the great white north. So that's expressed by Le'yikanaf Eid Marecha. Your teacher is not going to conceal himself with these wings anymore. Meaning, he's not going to cover himself from you with a knaf, which is like, I don't know, like a shawl, or lavush, a garment. Hashem hanigla lasi bli shum lavush. Meaning, because you can't keep the thing in the graphical, superficial thing and just think that you just had a mystical experience. Thank you. You have to know what it means. It means Hashem hanigla la'asid bli shum lavush. The light of God that is going to be revealed in now unfolding redemption without any garment. You usually need a garment to contain something, right? Here, there are times that there's no containment. You're in a private chamber, in a private moment, and then there's no reason for any levush at all, which means a connection with God that was blishim levush kafi shekvar hayala elamim me'enze. What is it? Do we have an example for that? The Rebbe gives one. It was your cheesecake on Shavuos, b'shas matan Torah, at the time of the giving of the Torah. Kediksiv atay hareis ladas ki Hashem hu Elokim einoid milvadai. Good morning. Because what did you have then at the giving of the Torah when you ate your cheesecake? No, when you learned the Torah, when you stayed up all night learning. You had an experience of now you have this knowledge, this das, this connection. God has shown you to know. God says, here I am, and now you know that you're connected with him in the most deep way called das. Haresa ladas. You show things, you make it the obviousness of justice so obvious that this guy has to be legally punished in the most stringent way because he was abusing his authority, and the other people have accountability for doing nothing but vandalize, and whoever did that, I think that there will be justice on them. Just okay, if the guy had stole because he needed to put Huggies on his children, at least to make it lighter, obviously. So the Rebbe gives an example of where you had this experience of total connection. There was nothing concealing you from God. You're totally one in the most romantic way ever. That was the giving of the Torah. There's nothing else but God, the greatest moment. And the Jewish people have this overflowing light, and from the overflow of it, all the darkness of the other nations of the world will be illuminated. Gamken. And then all of flesh, not just Jewish noses, but all of flesh on earth will recognize that there's that everyone will see the glory of God revealed in the world, which means there's no interruption between your vision of justice for you as it would be for your friend. The golden rule wins. Oh, and the Rebbe relates this here for the most surprising of all things in the Torah, probably, is what was used as the Chafetz Shem mitzvah. They didn't have a Torah to hold when they're taking an oath. So what did Avram invent? He put his slave's hand beneath his thigh, and that was the Chafetz Shem mitzvah. That in place of a Sefer Torah, that's what was used. Why? Because it was the only mitzvah that he had this exception to his rule, which was either spiritual or physical. There's complete distinction. There's a belt that goes between the two. And you can't fix that until the giving of the Torah. So here was one mitzvah ingrained in his flesh of this promise of the giving of the Torah, and it became a covenant that you're going to have. What was it all about? It was about finding a proper shidduch for his son. So he used the one place that was an exception to his world, that his very physical expression itself was sanctified with godliness. The only thing that he had Maybe it was also the tzedakah he gave. You could probably argue, because we see that mitzvah by Avram also, clearly. Isn't that a mitzvah in the Torah? So what's unique? I guess because everybody has to do that, so it's not indicative of his special connection to God that makes him unique and sort of try to be more, he's Beis Shammai. He's more stringent. He's already doing the Taryag thing and beyond. He's doing the Corona 620 mitzvahs. That's what Avraham Avinu did. But here, he had one mitzvah that he waited his whole life. He could have done it. Why did he wait till 99 to do it, to do a bris milah, to get a circumcision? Because he only had one chance. He wanted to do it, not just spiritually. When he's not commanded, he wanted to be commanded. He knew he was destined to be commanded, that specifically there in the lowest part of his body, in the most superficial aspect of his flesh, is going to be ingrained that too, in a Jew is holy. And a Jew's core is holy. So that mitzvah, even though there's the concern of being hefech tznius, the opposite of tznius, but Avraham, the Torah testifies, was extremely tznius, because when it came to crossing the river, that was the first time he even noticed that his wife had nice legs. To put it in very grub terms, the first time he even noticed. So we knew tznius by Abraham, was his modesty was integral to him. It was prodigious in its unique expression in the world, that he had the most beautiful wife ever, and he never thought anything inappropriate. Now he had to consider that because he was entering Eretz Haaretz. He went too far, we've learned. He put her in a box, it was too far, they got fascinated. You just have to be normal and good. Be yourself. He was good in his core, and that's expressed by the fact that even though he was so concerned about modesty, that was precious to him, and that was the chayfetz shel mitzvah, the object like a Sefer Torah holding a Bible, when you're swearing an oath. So the oath was integrity throughout the generations, that all the shidduchim that comes out from me should be used for good. We're all here to what? To fix what Adam HaRishon did. Nora Lila B'nei Adam, it's not his fault, but he introduced this mortality to the world by being an inadvertent killer. Okay? And then beautifully, we relate this whole idea to mystical interpretation of what it means that he had to use the chayfetz shel mitzvah, a holy object, an object used for a mitzvah. He used his makam hamilah, even though he had concern for hefech tznius. So why would you have this embarrassing detail mentioned? It's to teach us something. I shouldn't say embarrassing. I don't think we're meant to be embarrassed by this. The Torah is not embarrassed by anything. If you take a microscope into someone who's from the Torah, look what the Melech Plishtim did to Yitzchak. He looked through his window. He saw, and Yitzchak wasn't afraid to mitzachak, to be mitzachak. He was Yitzchak. He was mitzachak. He was himself. He wasn't embarrassed about that. He knew he had windows. And he's closed, maybe it's the closing the windows. That was the extra box that brought his attention. What are you closing the windows for? They didn't need to wear clothes out of Rishon before. Why? Because they didn't think about it. It didn't occur to them. There's anything wrong with any of their inclinations. Well, they didn't have any pollution inside them. They were holy people. Yitzchak was not afraid. He knew that if you looked inside, he was Yitzchak. It was all he cared about. He didn't have any other wives, the one of the fathers that didn't. The whole thing is about his integrity. So what you see, that he was mitzachak. It's something, there's a place for everything. There's a place. Bismanim yechadim bli shum levush, the Rebbe writes. Perish shelo yiskasim imcha beknaf ulevush. Okay, that's beautiful words. Beautiful. Okay, my grandfather used to say, it's a beautiful painting, or it's a gorgeous painting. He loved art. The shleimer shebezeh merumaz shetachlis shleimus disgalos alakus ba'olam shenasa chapsa kedushahu b'Yisrael davka kebemila de Avraham. Okay, the Jewish people are like a circumcision. It's only he has to have a sign that shows that he's special. He's going to show integrity in every area. So it's unique. It shows the uniqueness of the Jewish people. Brisish b'bsarchem lebris olam, an eternal covenant in your flesh. And then the Rebbe brings in this awesome mystical idea. Ulam yeshleima shebezem rumas gam giloi kayach ha'atzmos shal yadinasis ishavet hayesh me'ayin. What's the Shai Olamais, the 310 worlds that God has for the tzaddikim in the future to come? It's the transformation of their yesh, of their sense of ego, most expressed by the most physical and the part of the body where you need a covenant on. But what's that aspect of human experience expressed by, or expressive of rather? Creation from nothing, or in terms of your consciousness, I know Bishvili nivra ha'elam. Bishvili nivra ha'elam. It's all about me, right? It's the creation of that sense of self-awareness. That very creation is expressed by that particular part of the body. Shedugmasa ba'adam lemata keyak ha'elada, which is the ability to procreate. So you have this idea of yesh me'ayin, ex nihilo creation, expressed in the most physical part of a person's body, to say that the idea of the temptation to identify self, and because it's a pleasurable relationship, is at root here because it's the very source for the idea that you could have a relationship at all. So you create a yesh, you create an opportunity to say, I'm important too. My pleasure is important too. Therefore, serving God is a pleasure. Okay, that's when you've transformed the yesh, the sense of self, into knowledge that its origin is the yesh hamiti, the true existence. So your very ego is a product of God's very essence itself. Only God's very essence can be expressed through by the idea of difference. Yesh me'ayin. Yesh me'ayin is a type of procreation on a divine scale, ex nihilo creation, but that is expressed by man's procreation. Keyak ha'ilada. But keyak ha'ein saif, which is the power here, that Rebbe doesn't call it atzmos here, he calls it ein saif, of the infinity of God, the ability to procreate and have generations that extend beyond you. Now, you were one, now you have all these children. So your volition is now expressed physically in this world through your embodiment of the ability to be infinite. Shehu dugmas haisavas yesh ma'ayin. Procreation is an embodiment of creation ex nihilo. Shem shechasav yiskal lusay b'chefza de mitzvah milah, which is drawn down and revealed in the object of the mitzvah of milah, of circumcision. So your whole ego is tied up just in what Freud thought. It's not your nose only. You have this yesh ma'ayin, this kav, this proboscis coming into the world. It had to be that way for a reason. It teaches you something. Chefza de mitzvah milah. The Yisoid Malchus is something that you're supposed to learn from. Here we're learning the very ego itself is identified with that. When it's pleasurable to be in a relationship, it's not just about me wanting to steal your Nikes. Wow. Okay, maybe I should read some of the things before I close the show. It's so late. Okay. I didn't get to read any of this, I'm sorry. Gimme Shelter. Ruth found sanctuary, refuge under his cloak. Her heart found rest. Oh, that's lovely. How beautiful, the city of refuge for the nations. This sanctuary sounds like the Mashiach's embassy in foreign lands. They have to exchange their Nike sneakers for Tachash boots at the door. Humorous, nice. I didn't catch if you mentioned 1555. Knaf, oh my goodness. I love it. Kanfayim are perfectly balanced in angel's wings. And therefore you have the 155, 155 to make the 310 instead of the 207, 103, right? The Ur versus Egel. They even sound similar. The 155 is Knaf. I think you may have in a previous post. I don't think I did. I don't remember saying, I got the in Kane Chachma Kana Bina, which is 155 in a different way of spelling it out, which resonates nice with today's Tanya. Look it up. It's it's a whole nother shir, and it's so late, I cannot believe it. And I didn't even I almost got to the finish line. I just think it's so late. Maybe tomorrow will be the finish line, and we'll segue into the profound teaching that comes after it in the next sikha after. Oh, did I even get into that now? I think this was it. 1 second. No, I didn't get to that. Okay, so we have the next step. It's nice to know there's this tale. It doesn't end. So a place of shelter, the Torah is going to reveal a depth whereby you're going to have an integrity expressed by Beis Shammai's stringencies, but it's because you're more learning from that the dignity and integrity and the uniqueness expressed in the place of the Millah itself becomes the embodiment of the shelter that's provided by our cities when their cities are really a product of our Torah. So you have the images, you have the city, which is words, and then you have Makam Millah, which is the body. It represents this uniqueness of a place which makes us different. We have our cities are Torah cities, so that's expressed also in the Bris Milah. And the cities of refuge is the 3, which is, I think it's bringing the Libyasan. It's right. The Taimi Hamitzvahs, the secrets of the Torah. Maybe we'll next time. What unique? Oh, because I know where we're heading. We're heading into creation itself was dependent on Torah. Because there's going to be an innovation of Torah, which we've been speaking about, which is going to create a new world. So I really like that idea. Because I thought that Torah is just a geschmack thing that you do when you finally have a minute to sit down. But it's actually going to be create the new world that we await. How could you have a new world? I don't think it's going to be in bunkers because that's not what it's talking about. Something good is awaiting us. This is the one I worried about with rest. Wow. Hashem, please, let's feel some kind of stability in this. Okay, that's supposed to be the city of refuge. Gimme Shelter. We'll continue this theme. I'll call it something else tomorrow, maybe Oreo cookie. Well, that would be nice. Ebony and ivory together in perfect harmony. How superficial. Who was that said those beautiful eternal words? Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. No, Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson? I don't know. I can't even remember, thank God. It's not important. But the idea of all getting along in harmony, I think isn't that a beautiful thing? It's a simple calculation. I think that the world we're going inevitably into free money because rich people, it's in their interest to have a stable world because they want to visit all the cities of the world and live like jet setters. So they have to have a civilized world. So just pay people not to riot. Makes sense. People are... And then if they go too far, you put those guys in jail and you'll have a society eventually, eventually it might work out. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I really got to get to Haidu fast. Not to India. I didn't mean to Haidu, India. I think that's how you say it in Ivrit, no? But no, I have to start that way. Okay, have a great day.